Prominent Saudi businessman Prince Alwaleed bin Talal has been released after 2 months of detention due to allegations of corruption. In addition to this, a fashion retailer, a former chief of the royal court, and Saudi Arabia former head of Environmental Protection Agency have also reached a settlement with the investigating authorities of Saudi Arabia, and they're expected to be freed soon. Saudi Arabia's anti-corruption drive began in November last year with the rounding up and detention of dozens of citizens, including members of the royal family. Suspects were accused of crimes such as money laundering, bribery, and extortion. Official authorities have said that they aim to reach financial statements with most suspects and believed they could raise some $100 billion for the government this way. Earlier this week, Saudi Arabia's Attorney General said that 90 detainees had been released after having charges dropped, and others had traded cash, real estate, and other assets for their freedom. Some suspects will face trial if they do not settle. And right now, I'm being joined by my colleague Surya Gangadharan, senior editor at WION, live from the newsroom. Surya, I would like to ask you that once again, this very wealthy prince, Alwaleed, has been released without a trial or facing any kind of imprisonment or a sentence. And he is believed to reach a settlement, as so we do know another prince did last month when this anti-corruption crackdown took place. What could be such a possible settlement?
Well, the most obvious indication we have is that Prince Alwaleed and his interlocutors have struck a deal where he will pay them a certain sum of money. We're not clear exactly how much that will be, and probably it may even involve some kind of property, because as you mentioned earlier, some of the other princes who were let off from their prison handed over even property as part of the deal to get out of jail. So I would presume even Alwaleed would have struck the same kind of deal. Exactly how much and what the size of this deal is something that will perhaps only come out later.
Absolutely, Surya. And also I'd like to ask you that the anti-corruption crackdown, the corruption crackdown in November became a very big deal. But now we're seeing just a few months after that many of these influential names and wealthy princes are being released with just a settlement. So does that kind of fade away the effect that this sweep did have in November?
Well, I think it only underscores the fact that for all the reform that Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince, is claiming to effect in Saudi Arabia, at the end of the day, the privileges of the elite have remained intact. He has not gone around throwing them into any Saudi prison. He kept them all in a luxurious hotel. And none of them have been brought to trial, none of them have been given jail terms, none of them have been executed. A lot of other people have, on various charges. So it underscores the point that as far as the Al Saud family is concerned, that is a no-go area even for a guy like Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And he will ensure that, it underscores another point, that there is a tacit understanding between all the princes in the royal family that you can put them away, make them pay a fine and all that, but you will not go to the extent of putting them on trial and putting them in jail. So a lot of things are changing in Saudi Arabia, but this thing isn't changing.
Absolutely. And just off of that, I would like to ask you that what's the point of such a widespread sweep when in the end these influential people are all going back to their wealthy homes? Like you said, there is a tacit understanding in the royal family, but also the government is saying that they want to collect as much as $100 billion from these people. But is that the effect we were hoping for?
Well, obviously, to give Prince Salman his due, putting these guys into kind of a house arrest and getting them to pay up is itself unprecedented in Saudi Arabia. So, in that sense, he has gone a step forward. But the fact also remains that striking these kind of deals, does it really benefit the kingdom in the long run? Yes, the Saudi revenues are go up by $100 billion or so. But what happens to all these princes? Do they at some point come back into the system, again return to their old positions? What guarantee is there that the corruption that they indulged in will not be ended? Because now these people will be under pressure to get back some of the money they gave away. So we don't really know what the terms of these deals are, how they are struck, what are the conditions given and taken, what are the compromises made. It's a bit of it's so opaque, one doesn't really know exactly what's going on there.
Absolutely, and I would like to thank you, Surya Gangadharan from WION, for joining us on this story with that very valuable input. And of course, we want to know who is Alwaleed. The most famous prisoner of the anti-corruption purge is Alwaleed bin Talal. He's the most famous Arab in the business world and is believed to be sitting on $16 billion of net worth. Take a look at this report for more.
His is the most high-profile arrest in Saudi Arabia's anti-corruption purge. 62-year-old Prince Alwaleed bin Talal is one of the world's richest men, with an estimated fortune of nearly $19 billion. Among the many top corporations that Prince Alwaleed owns stakes in are Rupert Murdoch's News Corp, Twitter and Apple. Shares of Kingdom Holding, Prince Alwaleed's investment vehicle, sank after he was arrested. Twitter and Citigroup shares fell too. Prince Alwaleed has been one of the most familiar and progressive faces of Saudi Arabia in the Western media. While he has the lifestyle, jets, yacht and a palace of a stereotypical Saudi billionaire, he has also cultivated a different image with interventions such as backing rights for Saudi women. On Twitter in 2015, he called Donald Trump a disgrace to America for talking of a ban on Muslims. Trump responded in typical combative style.